So new camera. New camera. I got this camera for my channel back in January, and I'm finally setting it up. And I thought, you know what? What would be the better way to start using this camera than for the final episode of To Be Hero X? It's like we're switching mediums. But yeah, we are on sadly, the finale of To Be Hero X. I'm going to be honest. I have waited until like 2 days before I'm supposed to post this on Patreon to watch this because I don't want to be done. I don't want to be done. I got like through, I was watching it, I was loving it, and then the Lucky Cyan arc, I was like, okay, it's a good show. And then the minute we got to like Lo Lee and went from there, I was like, and it's just been building and building and building and building and just being amazing. And it's gone in so many different directions than I thought it was gonna go. I'm always surprised by this show in the best way. And last week we had Ohhhhh and Jinya, and I'm like what? You wouldn't have expected it. So I have a lot of comments from y'all that I need to go over. So it's going to be a long intro. We are going to talk about the EDs in this episode. As soon as I'm done reacting to episode 24, I'm going to be able to watch the ED for it. And then I'll go back and watch the other ED that people have told me about. So I'm going to be doing that. And then, yeah. And then we're going to go from there. So, and then we'll have extras next week and like all that. So don't worry, there's going to be lots of extras to come. I don't even know. I said in the August update video that I would have like one video of extras, and then people were like, you're going to have way more than you're going to be able to record in one sitting. And so we'll see how it plans out. We may have more than 1 month of To Be Hero X extras. We may have some in September. We'll see how it goes. We'll just go from there. But yeah, I want to get started talking about these comments before we even dive in to episode 24, because episode 22 and 23, y'all had a lot to say about it, and I want to talk about those comments with y'all, and I have a feeling that when we get to the extras, y'all will have things to say as well. So, Daewoo3YY for episode 22 says, Rock is definitely a groomer. I know we don't like to use that word lightly, but I think it's important to put a strong word to predatory patterns of behavior, even if it's fictional. Fiction does reflect reality after all. Daewoo, where were you when I was reviewing Berserk? I could have used you as a voice of reason in the comments. 100%. Even when this episode showed Mr. Shang puppeteering Baby Nice, it reminded me of what children in the acting industry go through, being treated like dolls and torn apart at such a young age. It's sick. I don't know if y'all have watched the Alien Stage series by Vivinos. It's online. I have reactions to it on my channel. It talks about a similar theme to pretty grisly effects. So if that's something that interests you, I'd definitely go check that out because it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it is pretty scary. I feel like in Asia, a lot of themes with, especially when it involves like celebrities and stuff like that, talk about like the abuse that they go through. And it's the same in the US. Like we talk about bands and especially child actors and things like that. It's really gross. With Small Screen Computer for episode 22 says, it's likely that the fear spilled on Smile was amplified more than DJ Shindig because Dragon Boy's ability is that he can deal back damage double time, like 2 times over. And I was like, yes, or yeah, that explains it a lot. Whereas the fear on DJ Shindig was mostly developed in the labs, and Smile ended up becoming more distorted with the amplified fear. Or, it's possible the bigger the trust value you have, the stronger the fear can twist an individual. I hadn't thought about that either, so I am actually on board with both headcanons. I like the idea that it makes the most sense in the context of the episode that because Dragon Boy's ability fires back something at double power, that it would be the idea of the fear being amplified and that's what caused him to transform. But I also like the idea of your trust value affecting how fear affects you because, you know, DJ Shindig had fallen from grace. He didn't have as much trust value anymore, whereas Smile still had quite a bit. So, which could also explain how Nice was freaking out about it as well. So that's interesting. But then the only thing that makes me stop from thinking about how that works is that Ghostblade got affected by the fear and his trust value is very high, but it did not distort him. So that's my only thing stopping me from believing that hypothesis and that it was more just Dragon Boy's ability, but who knows? Conclasher 3 for episode 22 says, I thought I'd mention now, you've seen X's power and how the art style changes when he snaps his fingers. If you go back to previous episodes covering the heroes, at major climax points when the art style changes, which was more in the beginning of the series, you can hear a snap in the background, which from episode 1 of the show has been a major theorizing point. Like, has X been following the story as well? And has he been influencing or just observing or has there been a completely stylistic, or was it just a completely stylistic choice? I am a little torn on that because at times I feel that he has been around and we've seen him snap his fingers and the art style has changed. And so that was an indication. But at other times when the art style changes, if he was there influencing, what does that do? So that's an interesting question. I don't want to really get more into it till after we get done with the extras in episode 24. Amp Lee for episode 22 says, honestly, it's not just OG Isol. I want to go back to the previous exes' backstories as well. They're all fascinating in some way, and I feel like we only ever got far with Boa specifically. There's the whole three-way fight with Shang, Vortex, and Phobia Clone. I don't remember that being talked about. Was that in the series? Did I miss that? Have I forgotten about that? The whole deal with DJ Shindig. I would read a whole mini-series on DJ Shindig. I'd watch that. And even Smile. Same with Smile. Even just a Chibi series would be so good. Oh my god. Chibi series for 2B Hero X. They've had Chibi Link Click. Why can't we have Chibi 2B Hero X? Why can't we do that and have their backstories? That's a genius idea. Lee Hao Lin, get on it. Get on it now. Okay. The whole thing with Shang, Vortex, and Phobia Clone, though, I want to talk about that briefly. I don't recall that. The mods approved it, so I guess it's not a spoiler. Maybe I've just forgotten about it. But Be Happy, the moderator, also said in episode 23, they were like, hey, there has been a hero in your discussion that to some capacity, their name involves the word clone. You know, it's been mentioned, and they spoiler tagged it, and I did click it, and they were like, hero split, or aka Phobia Clone, and I was like, so whenever Shang, Mr. Shang, had the 3 test tubes, were the 3 heroes in the test tubes, this is just my headcanon, were the 3 heroes Phobia Clone, Shang, and Vortex? And he just picked up Shang's body and then had Vortex from the plane crash and Phobia Clone from the plane crash? Is this possible and that's what's been creating the shadow guys? Just headcanon. We might find more out in the extras and in episode 24, so I don't want any, hints or clues or spoilers about that, but I'm just throwing it out there that that's what I'm thinking about. So that's intriguing to me. Amply also said, we could have had it all. If Smile had just stayed and had a one-night stand with X in episode 21, which was clearly leading to that, maybe he could have not died. It really did feel like Brock was questioning if Smile and X were a thing by the end. He's so stupid. I love that there's the screenshots of Rock being like, and there's just a rainbow flag behind him. Come on, dude. Piece it together. But yeah, if Smile had just stayed with X, we could have avoided all of this. That's just, or it could have gotten hairier. Who knows? Hindsight is 2020. Now we get to episode 23 comments from Patreon. Unikimmy8 says, Nice failed every single mission Mr. Shang gave him because he couldn't completely commit to being truly evil. There was always a spark of humanity holding him back from becoming a full villain. Yeah, and it's so sad because then it ends up becoming his demise. Sarah C5WR for episode 23 says, Jinya is actually the same age as Lo Li. She's 16, I think. The art style makes her look younger than she is. And honestly, between the ages of 14 and 17, I feel like especially in anime and donghua and any animated medium, between the ages of 14 and 17, it's really hard to distinguish because sometimes kids that age look really young and sometimes they look a lot more mature. I was at a water park the other day and there was a kid that was clearly they said he was 16, but he looked like he was 12. And I was like, oh my God, you're just a baby. But then there was also a guy that was 17 when I was younger and he had a full on beard. He hit puberty hard. Mack Truck hit him and he grew a freaking beard and he looked 40 and he was 17. And I was like, so ages are weird. You can never assume somebody's age because people genetics and factors, people age at such different ranges. It's hard to tell. But that's good to know. She said the parallels are definitely there between Yang Chong and Ohhhhh, both gaining one trust value from a child that looked up to them and needing to believe in themselves to accept that power. I had not thought about Ohhhhh and Ya Chong having that connection, but they really do. That's so true. Although Yang Chong, they still became a coward and were insecure about themselves and devoted themselves to revenge, whereas Ohhhhh seems to have moved past that. But then again, Ohhhhh didn't lose Jinya, and Yang Chong lost Chao, so there is a difference there. There's similarities, but some major differences that have affected the course of their heroship. Ale says for episode 23, Rock is looking at Queen in the OP. There's a huge eye looking at the CEOs in the OP, which, yeah, the eye is also present in Rock's shrine, so I have a feeling that's tied to Zero. We'll see. There are 3 characters that have hands reaching out towards them. Zero, X, and Nice, and in the ad that Lin Ling made. I feel like that's a spoiler. Mods, what's going on? I'm very curious about that tying them together. Well, we don't know if it's Zero or not. Okay. Trying not to be mad about spoilers, but I'm like, can y'all wait till episode 24 when I'm through the series? Can we be patient, please? In the English dub, the no worries part of the ad gets replaced with no fear. So when it glitches out, it starts to say have no fear. Ooh, that is juicy. That is juicy indeed. I love that. And then Alexandra Q for episode 23 says, I love that X helps Ohhhhh without Ohhhhh needing to ask for his help. In fact, Ohhhhh is actively trying to get X out of there. X seems to be really what a hero is supposed to be, gently helping and guiding people without seeking the recognition of anyone because they don't know who he is. Yeah, I kind of love that X is not bound by any CEO. He's not tied to a corporation. He's not being sponsored. He's not like in the limelight, taking credit for everything. He's just helping people without the recognition. I almost feel like OG Esol was trying to do that, and then he got picked up, and then it kind of just devolved from there. So that's fascinating. But yeah, please know, I do have lots of extras I'm already planning to watch. I'm going to see the PVs. We are going to look over the EDs this episode, but I'm like, I appreciate those of you that have been patient and waiting for me to get to episode 24 before dumping your novels upon me to read. I'm really appreciative of that, but just please know, if there's anything tied to the PVs, the extras, things that we've not seen in the show, I will be reacting to those. And I encourage you, please watch those videos, because I know they're going to be a lot of work to put together, and then you can tell me all the stuff about that. So I hope that's okay. But anyway, so we need to dive in. I've talked for 12 minutes. I'm stalling the inevitable, but we're just going to have to see. So we're going to get started with episode 24 of To Be Hero X. Oh, dear God. Here we go. I'm not ready, but we can't hold back anymore. It's just we gotta rip off the Band-Aid. Oh my God. So we're gonna start To Be Hero X episode 24, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it, y'all. Oh man, one thing about this is Whiteboard-kun is getting a close-up, so the good news with this new camera is you will probably be able to see what I'm writing on Whiteboard-kun a lot better than before. So I was like, I turned on the camera, I was like, man, we got a close-up of Whiteboard-kun. Are you comfortable being this HD? Okay. More questions than any answers. Oh my God. At least we got the top 10. I was like, if they don't give me the top 10 by the end of this, because they clearly are like prefacing and building up to, as I throw this to Huckleberry, who is my own Ohhhhh, as they're building up to the top 10, like the fights, which I'm like, I have lots of thoughts about, but I was like, at least they'll give us the top 10. Lots of thoughts about that. We're going to get into it. But I didn't answer my questions. Who is X? What is his past? What is his backstory? You don't get to know all that. You gotta wait till season 2, bitch. And I'm like, I really am hoping that they're making a season 2 of this, because they set this felt like very much the prologue. It felt like the prologue. They're setting everything up. They were like, yep, this is what you're gonna get in season 2. Now you know all these heroes' backstories. You know how X has kind of shown the correlation and how one thing has led to another with all of the characters and how they've been involved, which really, honestly, I feel like X's involvement in the entire story has been either from the very beginning with Zero, which we're going to talk about, or the moment that Lucky Cyan got involved. That's when X kind of came into the spotlight, and then we'll talk about those 2 EDs and what they could possibly be. They don't give answers. They just give imagery and more context clues and things that you can theorize about, but they don't give concrete answers. It's just theories. And I'm like, well played. Also, some of these characters that we have not seen in the CGI, they look very different in the CGI compared to the 2D animation. The CGI doesn't do them a lot of favors. We'll talk about that. They exaggerated Mickey's wrinkles so much in the CGI. I was like, damn, they're just doing him dirty. I don't think we saw Liu Jin in CGI though. I don't think we saw him as the leader of the Shadow or the Spotlight organization, but we didn't see him in 3D. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah. Look, I'm going to be really real with you all. I'm not going to try to go through the timeline completely in this episode. I may do some behind the scenes work and get the timeline orchestrated and talk about that when we do the extras reaction. So come back to that and I'll do the timeline then, because I need some time away from this episode to digest it and to get a proper timeline created. So we're not going to worry about the timeline today. That's going to be for the extras. Come back for that. I'll try to have it organized by then because I need some time to sit with it. But we are going to talk about the top 10. So we are going to preface, because we have the top 10 for season 2, which is the whole battle thing is what they're setting up. I'm worried about X. I'm worried about X surviving season 2 for 2 reasons. One, because he didn't just aura farm in this episode. He didn't just aura cultivate. He what's the word I want to use? He wasn't just the farm. He was the freaking manufacturing corporation. He owns the plots, the combines, the tractors, the harvesting utensils. He's got the grain bins. He has the manufacturing. He just aura cultivated the shit out of this episode. And I'm like, with someone with that much power, either they're going to ascend to godhood and become what the commission and everybody is afraid of happening. But we're going to discuss that because I think the X's personality is a bit different than Zero's, but there's going to be a discussion with that. Or he's going to realize that in order to dismantle the entire thing from within, he's going to have to maybe sacrifice himself to destroy the trust value and fear value system, or he's going to reveal something about, is he part alien? Is that something to do with it? We're going to get into that. So, but it makes me very sad that they're even having the battle in season 2. It makes me sad because of how these characters have been looped into this and the circumstances behind it. And Ohhhhh seems to be the one that knows the truth, and he's a freaking dog. So who's going to believe him? Because he's there is an aspect of this where Ohhhhh is kind of like a second-class citizen because he's a dog and not a human. So there's a lot of layers to it, and I'm really sad. And then 9, we're way too close. we gotta wait. We gotta build back up to it. But yeah, so we have the top 10, and I'm just gonna write that out here for us, the top 10. I'm gonna save lots of room down below for more things. I'm gonna put questions on there. Man, look at how vivid that is. It feels so good. I had people complain in the past. They're like, we can't see what's on Whiteboard Coon. And I was like, well, it's the quality of my webcam. Now you can see everything. So yeah, questions. And then we're going to put up here some answers that we get as we go. So yes, do that. I'm excited about that. So yeah, we'll dive into this. I'm going to get there is so much packed visually in these episodes that I was like, oh, we have a lot to go to. So we're going to go through this episode bit by bit. No OP, understandable. And then the ED was its own thing. So here in 3, 2, 1. I feel bad. It makes me very sad about Lin Ling. To be honest, I hope we get more Lin Ling focus in season 2, because I felt like we spent the first 4 episodes getting to know him, and I really liked his character, and I really felt for him now in hindsight, it's like he was puppeteered to be nice, and then he defied that puppeteering and was like, no, I'm my own person. And then what the fudge happens? He gets roped in by Mr. Shang, and I'm like, he's the last person you should get involved with. He's the worst. I wanted Lin Ling to break free from that corporation and to be kind of like X, and it didn't happen, and I was like, it's just the angst. We're going to talk about the whole bit with Moon, but yeah. So let me move my mouse around here so I'm not leaning over so much. So yeah, the moment before the ranking of every tournament is full of surprises. So yeah, Lin Ling, and then we have, yep, Isol, X. Oh man, The Heroes tournament is about to begin. Okay. Last year was the Ruins incident. That's so wild that it was only like a year ago. Okay, I want to see what each of these little papers and stuff say, because I feel like that is important. So it says the Ruins incident. Oh, man. Like, go back. I'm like, go through each and every moment. Lose my space bar to get tied into here. Okay, we're going to go back, and I'm going to get this right. Oh, man. It's like a blink and you miss it sort of thing. So the severity of the Ruins incident. Okay. Yep. And we go there. This year we had Firm Man retire and Smile succumb to fear. So they established that this all happened in year 40 to 41. Like, I guess they're catching everybody up on what's happened within the year. It's a little bit like, oh, what do we do with this? Like, timeline, like, between the year 40 to 41 is a little bit muddled because of months and things like that, but fine. So yeah, we had that happen. Poor Smile. Who knows what we'll witness as the tournament begins. I also like the idea of we're seeing, like, this entire imagery is double-sided, where it's in 3D, meaning we're seeing it in CGI in 3 dimensions, but it's also like a mass of people that look the same. So it's talking about like this mob mentality when it comes to trust value and the way they just mindlessly consume the spiraling downfall of these human beings that they've othered into just being heroes, and like they're separated from humanity. There's a whole mess with that. There's a whole symbolic mess with that. And like the eyeball looking, that's creepy. That's really creepy, the eyeball. I don't know if there's anything tied to that. Like, is that tied to Zero? Because, again, one of the things that we get in this is the idea of this eye tied to, I'm going to make a little anime eye, is tied to Zero. The idea of the eye, which eyes are windows to the soul, but they're also, like, signifying of, like, omnipotence in some ways, in some symbolic means. So it's like Zero is constantly watching. And I love the idea that X points out. He's like, they tried to kill Zero, but they didn't kill the concept of Zero. He's like, what's messed up is that they don't want a god like Zero to exist, because that is very dangerous, but they're still perpetuating a system that could create another Zero. So he's like, they're not doing anything. They're being hypocrites, is what X is saying. He's like, they're all about, oh, we don't want another Zero, but we have this system in place that's ranking heroes, and hero number 1 is X, which is essentially a deity. And he's like, what are you all doing? You're not even helping yourselves at this point. You're contradicting your own goals. So I think he brings up a really good point with that. Yeah, the top 10 rankings would have such significance change. First of all, a dog comes out of nowhere. Freaking love Ohhhhh. Yep, and then Nice commits suicide after being exposed. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, I also love the kind of ransom note comic book way of, like, if you've ever been in marketing or journalism or in editing and you've seen the way that they put magazines together, like a magazine, when we get it, it's like glossy and one layered, right? But if you've ever watched somebody put together, like, and this is before the digital age, so I'm in my 30s, so I remember a time when you could see behind the scenes, they had big layouts. I don't know if they still do it this way. I'm not in marketing, so I don't know. Marketing majors, sound off down below. But they used to have like spreads, and you would have your paper and there'd be cutouts of like how you'd want it arranged. And it was very much like very tactile, very organic and layered. And then when they, got it all finished, it would look like one seamless layer rather than all these mix match pieces. And so this kind of feels like that. It feels retro like that. And Lindling made his rankings, and not even 2 days later, Moon's death made the news. This is what gets me. Why we frigid Moon? Why we shoving Moon in the fridge? What? Yeah, so Moon's death. They really glossed over that. They just, why? Why? Why did she have to die? What was the reason? What was going on there? I feel as if Lee Hao-lin is waiting to expand more on Moon in season 2, and that's going to come out there. But man, I waited the whole season to try and find out, why did Isol kill her? What was Lindling's reaction to Isol? And who knows? Find out next week. Find out next season. I'm like, So I'm very curious about her death. It felt like with Moon, my thoughts were that Lin Ling would react. It was like going to be the self-perpetuating cycle where Mr. Shang's son, like in a sense, you had Xiao, which now, Mr. Shang's son, we're just going to put him on here. He died, which perpetuated Yang Chong to become Yi-Sol and seek revenge, for that death. But then that revenge kind of got thrown to the wayside, and instead he wanted to focus on becoming a top-ranking hero. So he kind of lost his way, and his means and reason for becoming a hero became warped and twisted. And then him killing Moon sort of became like a similar moment to Mr. Shang's son getting killed, which perpetuated Lin Ling to seek revenge against Yi-Sol. But then what does that do? So I was expecting more with that getting in this episode, and then we didn't get anything with it. So except that Lin Ling is joining up with Mr. Shang, who also hates Yi-Sol and Rock. So it's just, again, creating this perpetual cycle of violence and just needless violence. So I expected more of Lin Ling. I expected more of him. But he doesn't know all of the backstory that we know as the audience. So season two is going to be questioning like Lin Ling's motives. What does Lin Ling want out of this? Because honestly, I don't see how, of all the characters fighting X, some of them make sense. We're going to establish which ones make sense and why they would have a beef against X. Lin Ling's doesn't make much sense. Lin Ling is just, he wanted to become a hero, and in wanting to become a hero, he became one but lost Moon in the process. But that has nothing to do with X. That has everything to do with him seeing Yi-Sol murder her before his very own eyes. So all of his, revenge or motivation should be geared towards Yi-Sol, who isn't in the tournament. So we're going to talk about that. So I'm like, Lin Ling makes the least sense to be fighting X for any reason. He has no reason to fight X. There's literally no reason for him to. So get into it. But yeah, I feel like that's something they're going to save to tell us in there. Yeah, so then we had so much on the screen that wasn't even being talked about yet. Also, what is this on the screen in the background? That looks like something from Neon Genesis Evangelion. What is that? He says, Moon dies in an attack on deserted island. Police working with the Treeman Corporation to find the murderer. Oh, I don't know. Maybe ask Lin Ling, who stared at Yi-Sol in the face and could identify him rather quickly. What do you mean find the murderer? What? So that part is weird. So do they not suspect Yi-Sol? I mean, they ended the episode. It wasn't just like a blink and you miss it moment where Lin Ling was like, I didn't see the murderer. He literally looked at Yi-Sol. So, Calamity Corner, why we not? There are some moments in this series where I'm kind of like, but you gave us the answer. So why are people questioning the answer? And it's fine. But I'm just kind of like, what? Why? I give Ling a little bit more credit. Yeah. I don't understand that part. He's like, oh yeah. And Shang being like, I hope everyone can remain reasonable and calm. F this man. This man is off crazy town loony bins. Yeah. We've already reached an agreement with Lin Ling. What do you mean? We're going to uphold justice and find the truth and work together with him. The only thing I can reason with it is that they went to Lin Ling and they were like, oh man, Lin Ling, we're so sorry about Moon. She worked with us too, and we're really sad that she died. We know that Yi-Sol murdered her, but we don't know the reason yet, so we can't accuse him of the murder. So let's work together and figure out what the motive was and get revenge on him. That's the only thing I can reason. But it makes me so mad that we don't get to see it go down. I'm like, and I'm assuming in season 2 that they're going to give us that. They're going to backtrack because the season has gone all over the place with the timeline. So I have no doubt that we will go back to that moment when it's necessary. But I'm just like, having to wait to get confirmation of that is just, yep, we're currently outside the commission. and talking about Dragon Boy. I like the idea that the Hero Commission has these suits on, like the Shadow Organization, and they're just represented by, again, the triangle, which this triangle has a lot of symbolism just in itself. So you have like the triangle. Again, this is the Hero Commission. You have this little separated portion, which to me represents X, or the deity that they supposedly don't want to have. And then here, I like the idea of the gate because it represents access. And you go up, so it's kind of like anyone can become a hero, like Lin Ling points out, but only one person gets to be at the top, and the top part is kind of separated from the rest of it. So, and plus, if you've ever, you know, heard of the Illuminati or anything, you have the triangle with the eye, and the eye is 0. There's connections there, you know, fun times. But yeah, so they're going to determine whether he's eligible to compete. Though he defeated Hero Smile, who was consumed by fear. That's my least favorite part about all of this episode, is that Smile, who was just taking out the trash for his could-be boyfriend, gets targeted and drug into this. Smile did nothing. And the worst part about it is Smile's entire reputation as a person is just sludged through the mud because of being consumed by fear. I mean, I assume people were like, oh man, he was consumed by fear. He didn't really have control over his body. But it still sucks that he had that reputation going out, right? And I'm surprised in all of this that nobody, like, they acknowledge that fear value exists. They acknowledge that fear is a thing. You would think as a population of people in this world that they'd be like, hey, are you guys, like, researching that or finding a way to stop that? That seems dangerous. Like, you would think the public would have more outcry about fear, but I don't know what they're going to do with that. So one of my questions going into season 2 is, with the fear value, what are we going to do next with that? And you would think as heroes, I don't know, I would be questioning if I was, like, queen. I would be like, hey, Dad. Not knowing your dad is in charge of the entire system and setup, I'd be like, hey, Dad, that whole fear thing, do we have to worry about that? And then her dad would be like choking on his tea, like he chokes on other things. I'm kicking my feet. But yeah, you would think that the heroes would kind of question fear a little bit more. Dragon Boy doesn't, because Dragon Boy's in on it. Isol doesn't, because Isol's in on it. Lucky Cyan's probably like, I'm fine. But you would think that, like, little Johnny would be like, because the concept of Big Johnny consumed by fear, I don't like that. I don't like that concept at all. That sounds dangerous. So yeah, anyway, but let's get into this. And according to sources, the hero referred to the commoner Lin Ling is now officially working with the Treeman Corporation. Don't like that at all. Hate that. Don't like that at all. I want nobody to work with this man. After everything that happened with Nice, I don't want anybody to work with him. And maybe the whole thing with Lin Ling is that, is he going to break off? Is he going to branch off from Treeman after he has seen the whole deal with Nice 2.0, which we're going to talk about? I have so many questions, theories, things about that when we get to it. Is that going to be a thing? Also, the idea of, like, when they're holding hands, it's like muddled. So maybe they're not working together. These are just rumors. And again, rumors may or may not be true. So we'll see where that goes. But let me get this back on here. Okay, my mouse is giving me a little bit of worries. So yeah, Dragon Boy passes arbitration and enters the tournament ranking as hero number 3. Look how smug he is. Look how smug Dragon Boy is. So Dragon Boy comes in. Dragon Boy is ranked number 3. He has reason to hate X. He has reason to want to kill X. He wants ranked number 1. And we have up here, number 1 is X. Yep. Number 1 is X up here. We're going to get that. Yep. And we'll see. X wants to just defy. When X says defy fate, it feels like X wants to defy Rock. Defy this deifying of heroes. And he's like, you all want to deify someone? Okay, I'm going to turn that upside down. We're going to see how that goes. But yeah, interesting. I don't know how anybody could defeat X at this point. That's the thing. Unless X is just planning on like doing a self-destruct at the end, like a damn Voltorb. Unless he's planning to do that, then I don't know how that's going to work, because I don't think anybody can beat him. Maybe Queen. Queen could give him a run for his money if she could stop him before he snaps his fingers. That's the only thing. I don't think anybody else is fast enough. I think Queen is the only one that could give him a run for his money. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, unless they get fear involved. But this also, man. So, Lo Lee. Okay, look on here. Look at this here. It says, is she number 6? Lo Lee is the hero knight. Yeah, I like that they spelled knight with the N. And then Dragon Boy. Dragon Boy, look. Aesthetically, Dragon Boy, he has the bad boy persona, like, down to a T. I can actually do it now. Couldn't do it at the beginning. But yeah. And there's FOMO's thing right there. And then 3 consecutive championships. I also kind of hate how the stuff with X looks like it's made. Have you ever seen, like, those AI posters that are just on repeat on the internet and they all look the same and I hate them? That one of the 3 consecutive championships, the font and the style just looks like it's made through AI, which would check out. But okay, so Lo Lee, she's number 6, we think. I don't think that Lo Lee has a reason to fight X. X has nothing to do with what happened to her and all of that. If Lo Lee has anything against anybody, it would be Nice 2.0. So I guess we need to establish that. Like, what do these other people have? Like, Dragon Boy is clearly out for X. Like, Dragon Boy is out for X. That's the only person that he really has a beef with or any reason to fight. Lo Lee should be out for Nice 2.0 because, or Zombie Nice, whichever we get to, Nice 2.0, because he's inadvertently responsible for her dad's death. So she has a thing against that, so that we can brace into that. Okay. I also like her kind of Harley Quinn bat. That's really cool. Neat. But yeah, so then we have, now, I feel as though X infiltrated FOMO because they were all like, who's he and how does he work here? Who's this guy? So did he infiltrate FOMO to get information, and why? And FOMO used that to figure out who he was. And I feel like Zach and Rock are kind of working together because Rock would have had the intel about Smile and about X, and he shared that with Zach. And we're going to talk about their relationship in a second. But I wonder, like, why was X at FOMO? Was it just to taunt them or to draw them out? And did he get anything from being there? That's the question. At the very end, when he's like, it's time I time out, I interpreted that to him being like, okay, I'm done being a civilian. Y'all want me to be X? You want me to fight y'all? Fine. Here I am. What now? Crazy! Yes! So we'll see about that. But yeah, I like that he just like walked up and walked away and was like, okay, bye, see y'all. So yeah, they all said the recent heart-stopping hero fight in the city has Dragon Boy's actions garnering attention and controversy. Who isn't terrified at the mention of fear these days? So they do establish that the people are afraid of fear. What was that on the page about Nice? There was something on there. No, like, I only believe in X. With him, I have nothing to worry about. Yeah, I love that his watch has the X on it, too. Yeah. I heard Smile already lost all humanity and went completely berserk. And then he leaves. Yep. Okay. So they're all getting ready for the tournament. Every tournament is an overtime hellscape. Ooh, I love that connection to him being like, I'm done working overtime. We're going to just destroy this. Take it off. All right. Nice. Time to clock out. I also love that he went to that same vending machine this whole time. Like the concept that he was at that same vending machine from the start, of him being at the comic book place and on looking at all the stuff about X and everything. That's so crazy. Oh my gosh. We'll get into that ED. And yeah, him getting the hot dogs and getting all that. Like, he's been just in plain sight the entire time. And the train had all the different heroes on there. Okay, but yeah, at first I was like, him getting the skewers. He got the extra beer. Look. You don't have to ship Smile and X. You don't have to ship them. You don't. But you can view it as he bought a beer and skewers for his bestie and is having them in his honor. Or you can view it as it was more than that and he loved Smile and they had something else going on. But it's heartbreaking regardless. And it makes me so sad. I was like, oh. I also don't like the fact that X drinks so much. Like, I get some people drink and that's fine, but the way that he drinks like in copious amounts as he fights, and it feels like a coping mechanism. It feels like he's doing it just to get through the day and to get through everything. And that's sad. And I'm not promoting alcoholism, and I hate that X has to do that. It makes me sad. It makes me very sad. Like, poor X. But yeah, he doesn't even eat the skewers. He just leaves it for him. So I feel as if he knew that Ohhhhh is watching him. Okay, let's talk about this. Zach looks weird in CGI. His chin is so pointy. I don't know how to feel about that. I liked him better in 2D, but he's fine. But yeah, he tells Ohhhhh our goal is to take down X to keep him from becoming a god. So let's talk about that. So Ohhhhh is working for FOMO. We get the idea that Ohhhhh is with FOMO. That makes sense. And Zach is working with Rock to an extent. What's curious is Zach's like, oh, we're just taking down X so he doesn't become a god. I'm like, at that point, anybody that's like, Zach's not, you can't say Zach isn't corrupt because he's part of the CEOs. He is corrupt. He's very like, you could argue he's a very, I don't know if he's a worse kind of corrupt because I think Rock and Shang are the worst. Mickey's just slimy. But Zach, he's a very deceiving form of corruption. And he's the kind I think people give the pass to the most. And that's complicit corruption. Where he's like, I'm just being complicit. I'm just doing it because, everybody else is doing it. And it's just a thing. And I'm like, but you're still a part of it. He's that kind of passive aggressive corruption that's like, oh, it's just no big deal. We just can't risk it. And we have kind of, I'm like, no. You're still part of the corruption. You're just trying to pass it off as if it's not as big of a deal. But it is still a big deal. And you're still part of it. It's kind of like when a company, I'll use a real world example. When a company is like, well, we can't have these measures anymore because our administration says that they're really problematic and we don't want to get left out of the benefits. You're still corrupt and you're still doing something horrible. You're just trying to pass it off and paint it as acceptable because it's necessary. And I'm like, you just don't have a spine and you don't want to stand up for beliefs of others because you're afraid of how it's going to negatively affect you. And I'm like, not cool. So I'm like, Zach's still corrupt. He's just not as violent or as outright manipulative, but he's still doing the manipulation. So he's still a bad guy. He just passes it off as like, oh, I'm just a little guy. I'm like, no. At this point, I'm like, no, you're working with Rock. You very much. The thing that's crazy is I don't think Zach knows I don't think Zach knows about Rock's shrine to Zero and how deep in the cult that Rock is. I don't think Zach knows about that. And that's the one benefit of the doubt I would give him. And then Ohhhhh says, well, then the commission's tournament just gives him the right stage to perform on. He's like, isn't this a problem? And yeah. And he's like, oh, well, you're so innocent and cute. At that point, the moment he said that and the moment we saw those guys show up, I feel like Zach at that moment was like, you're asking too many questions and you know too much. And we might just have to have an accident getting rid of you so that you don't get... Here's the thing. I fully believe that Zach was okay with Ohhhhh dying in this battle alongside X to get rid of X and him, and that Rock was supportive of that because it would let Isol get back into the top 10. That's my headcanon. I think Rock and Zach were working together to be like, let's try to get rid of X. If Ohhhhh dies in the process, and that's the sacrifice we gotta make, he knew too much anyway, like Shang knew, and they had to take Shang out with Ghostblade. They're like, he knew too much, so we'll just take him out, and Isol will get back in the top 10, and everybody's happy. Let's do that. I don't think Zach had a problem with that, because he has so many in FOMO anyway. But that whole you're so innocent and cute, at that moment, I was like, oh, Zach is not. Zach is he's manipulative in a very sneaky way. Once you get in there, you'll see how each company and each hero will resort to the dirtiest tricks to get to the top. But he's like, I'm not expecting much of you, meaning you're very expendable. Yeah, that's basically what he was saying in that moment. This mouse is not being nice to me today. Yeah. He's like, how do you think you're gonna get rid of him? Tell me. Like that moment there when he's just like, he looks like freaking Timothy Chalamet. He looks like Timothy Chalamet in that moment. I was like, okay. Timothy Chalamet is Willy Wonka as Mr. Zack in To Be Hero X, the Netflix version. Let's not give Netflix any ideas. But yeah, he's like, how are you going to do it? And he's like, I'll assassinate him in advance. It's like, And you can already see the marketing that FOMO is doing with Ohhhhh being like, Ohhhhh recommends yummy dog food. You'll eat this and you'll go to be twice just as strong as Ohhhhh. Yeah. I would also argue that Zack is pretty sinister in a way because he uses heroes just as props. He objectifies them just as puppets, as marketing, but it's not the same kind of puppet that Mr. Shang does with Nice. Instead, it's more puppeteering as you're just a marketing brand to me. You're not a person, you're a brand. And that's just as bad, not worse than what Mr. Shang does with Nice, but it's just as bad in a different way. It just comes across as more like a gentle using of you for their own purposes, which is not cool. So, yeah. Ohhhhh has not revealed Mr. X's identity, but they kind of find out by following him, right? By tracking him. And I think X knows that Ohhhhh is a good boy, a good dog. You know, I think he knows. And so he's like, hey, I can kind of trust you because otherwise you would have outed me a long time ago. And so, and it's so funny that Ohhhh's like, I'm a dog. I go out on walks every night. This whole episode was just X taking him on a walk. That's really what it was. I was really worried about Jinya in this episode as Ohhhh is worried about her. I would really love there's a part of me that would love for Ohhhh to become like man's best friend with X, and by the end of the second season, they're like besties. But that would imply that something bad happens to Jinya, and I don't want that to happen. But maybe while they're heroes, they can be, man's best friend or X's best friend and go from there. So he ends up eating the skewers and the beer because he's kind of traumatized about Smile. And he says, tell me why you're here. And he's like, well, don't you know I go for walks every day? And he's like, you've been following me since I got off work. He's like, you must be afraid of becoming a demon. And then we see the stuff with Smile. Yep. And his expression there. And the slippers that Smile left behind. Yeah, so X is afraid. What's crazy is there is a question of, is X afraid of fear? It does seem like the one hero that was corrupted by fear did have the ability to kind of get near him. And so that's concerning. So I don't know if we're going to get into that. I do feel like X is afraid of becoming like Zero, where he ends up hurting people. And so he kind of doesn't want, but I don't think X and Zero are the same person. I wonder if X is the son of Zero. I do question that. I do question if X is the son of Zero. And we're going to talk about that with the Zealous Worshipper, if that ends up becoming a factor in all this. But forfeit. And he's like, well, forfeit the tournament before you become a public enemy. And he's like, no, I've got to go through with this. He's like, I've already been exposed. Everything about this fight is amazing. Everything about the choreography, all of this, and the fact that he transforms into X and does all this, like, everything about this is amazing. I love everything about the different styles, the different mediums. It's so good. Ohhhh rolling down the stairs. It's so cute. This episode, if it did anything, makes me want to know more about X, like more about his origins. I know we have the ED to go through, but I want like an actual backstory. I don't want the ED just giving me context clues. I want to go in depth with it. I want to know who these people are. I want to know everything. Like this entire episode made me want to know more about how X got to the position that he's in. But everything about this. Also, are these guys FOMO's guys? Because they don't look like, they're not the Shadow Organization. They're not Mickey's guys. They're not Mr. Shang's suits guys. They're not, I'm like, Rock doesn't seem like the type that he has bodyguards like this. So is this FOMO's dudes? Which again, paint Zach is a little more corrupt than he would normally seem. This whole thing with the stairs, it's like the famous painting. Is it Eshel's famous painting? I forget the artist's name in the moment. But yeah, where all the stairs lead to each other. I think that X is part alien. I really do. And I had so many ideas of where I thought this season was going. I thought we were going to focus on Lin Ling. We did not at all. I thought we were going to get backstory on Zero. We did not. I thought we were going to explore the alien thing more once we were introduced to Big Johnny. We were not. I thought we were going to get X's backstory in this episode. We did not. I thought all these things were going to happen in this season. I had so many preconceived notions. And I'm not mad they didn't happen because it now leaves all of these questions to be answered by season 2. So I'm excited about that. But I was not. I just had all these thoughts and I just subverted all my expectations. I did not expect this to be like every couple episodes we got a new hero introduced. Didn't expect that. Loved that. And he's like, I thought those guys came with you. So yeah, we finally discovered X's real identity. Here's my thing. I'm just going to point this out. Especially with the type of predator we've identified Rock as being. I know Zach's in his 20s and he's older now, but Rock has a type. He's a type. If they look like a young boy, Rock has a type. I'm just saying. Just pointing that out there allegedly because you cannot tell me these two have not had some kind of past. Yeah. And he's like, as expected of old Rock, there's no piece of information you can't obtain. Well, he's like, if you knew where he worked, maybe you might not be sitting here playing video games. He's like, oh, I know. He's like, I'm aware. His idea. And so, okay, now we're with Mickey and Mr. Shang and all of this. Mr. Shang's on his phone, texting Lin Ling or Nice or whatever. Like I'm always amazed by the fact that Mr. Shang is so detached. He could care less about the commission. He could care less. And I really want more with Mr. Shang because we've gotten a little bit about Rock in this season. We got a little bit about Rock. Where, as we know, he wants to like have this cult and continue on the Legend of Zero, and he wants to create a god, and he wants to like go back to the nostalgia of before Downfall and all that. Like, we've got enough with Rock to kind of know his motivations and everything. And we know Shang's motivations in part because of his son dying. I really want more with Mr. Shang. I want to know, like, why. I mean, we can assume he's just doing this because he's done and just wants to watch the world burn, but I would really like more with his character. Mickey's just a slime ball, a misogynist slime ball that just, they did him so dirty in the CGI. I love it. He's like, the commission must be concerned. We can't afford to take any more risks. Yeah, I want to know who Shang is texting. He refused to join any hero agencies and distanced himself. Yep. And so what's crazy is they're like, well, he's trying to, place everything above himself, but human nature is greedy and lacks self-restraint. Well, he might not be human. Or he might just be half human. So, are we saying X is Jesus? He could be. He could be Donghwa Jesus. Let's go with that. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to view X as Donghwa Jesus. Let's go. So the sacrifices they're talking about is that they were totally fine with Ohhhhh getting sacrificed for the sake of this. And it's like, that sucks to be Ohhhhh. I want to know, where's the sign that we saw with them? I love this, where they're just like walking along the wall. And Ahoo's like, they're going to any lengths to try to kill us. And he's like, yep, that's how this works. The choreography is great throughout this. I want to go back to the heroes' names that we get in this. The fight choreography is so freaking good. So he's like, those heroes are ranked 15th. Okay, so let's get into this. Number 18 from FOMO. We have a ranked hero number 18 who's working with FOMO. Is this guy that looks like, we're going to call him Spike Man. Yeah, so number 18. God, FOMO has a lot of heroes. Yep. And then the Ruby Sapphire Masters also Number 15. Oh my god. The Ruby and Sapphire Masters. I am actually in love with them. I think of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, but they look like such dapper gents. Look at his little pipe. Freaking love them. I just want these two men. Are they like Sherlock and Watson? Are they just, I want to know more about them. I want their backstory. I want to know everything about Ruby and Sapphire Masters. I'm kind of all about them. They're my favorite side heroes maybe, and I know not a thing about them. Okay, so yep. And Zach's like, we'll just send him. So he's like, let's put up for a recommendation live stream, drop a like, and pull in some traffic. Again, Zach is sinister. This episode has shown Zach is completely sinister. He's as bad. He's maybe not as emotionally violent and manipulative as Rock and Mr. Shang, because they are literally being predators towards the heroes themselves, and we've seen how deep their manipulation goes. Mickey is slimy and sinister because he's pulling these strings and putting heroes in dangerous, precarious situations and doesn't give a shit about it. But Zach is also sinister in the same way that Mickey is, because he's just taking advantage. He's like, well, let's just get a feed and get some likes and do this. And it's just, that is so harmful and sinister, trying to pull it in for your own gain. They're all bad. They're all bad. They're all bad and they all need to go. And Rock's just like, I'm not here for that. But he calls one of his heroes in. This guy, Bug MG, Control, Alt, and Delete. Why does all of Rock's heroes look the same? So we got this guy. What number is he? We don't even know. Or Bo. Is it Bo? B-O-U? So is it Bo? Is it, yeah, Control, Alt, Delete. And he's with MG. He's not even like a ranked hero. He looks like an ESOL knockoff, which is crazy. But you know what? That kind of tracks for Rock, because Rock he's like a kid that's trying to live out a power fantasy by recreating Superman, and probably had, like, if they're drawing from like Astro Boy and other different superheroes of the time. Interesting. I love everything about all this animation. It's so freaking good. So yeah, and then this part here where he's just, the moment he had Ohhhhh in his hands and was smiling as he snapped, I just kept thinking of Smile and the concept of X being in all this pain, but he smiles because of his friend, and going back to that, I love it. So yeah, they go back through all of this. Is the Control-Alt-Delete guy, is he the one that gets consumed by fear? Is that a thing? Is that what happens? Because I'm looking here. Okay. Or is there another guy coming up? Yeah, who be this? Because he ends up getting in... Yeah, what is this? Who is this man? Okay, Dos. Oh, DOS. Graffiti King. Oh, okay. So then we have DOS. He's not in the top, but he has also been rattled by fear. That makes sense, because DOS and the Spotlight organization have access to fear, and they're working with Mr. Shang. So that all makes sense. We have Graffiti King. Okay. I wondered if, like, the fear was letting them tap into an ability that could get into X's world, which would be very dangerous for X. But no, it's the fact Graffiti King, he can get into the graffiti on the wall, which is where X is at. So that's why it would be important for him to target him. That makes more sense. Okay. That's crazy. Yeah. And he's like, oh, somebody with a power that could get in there. And then Mickey's like, he's your nemesis just because he can get into the graffiti on the wall. Bitch, shut up. Bitch, shut up. No, yeah. It's a shame he was so close to squeezing in the top 10. Shut up. Mickey, they made you look dirty. Yeah. And he's like, okay. I like the X is like, don't care. Not worried about this guy. Whatevs. I was questioning whether or not they would get the top 10 heroes involved. But then when you realize that the tournament is about to happen, then you're like, okay. Also, Ohhhhh biting Sapphire's nuts to get him and attack him is just... Love it. Good for you. Good for you, Ohhhhh. Yeah, and then them becoming part of the graffiti. Freaking love it. All of this is so good. And then look at the side. It says, who is X? on the billboard. Yes. Yes. Love that. Who is the X? Oh, it's just all the stuff on the background. And it says Iron Heart, Thunder Pulse. He takes the Thunder Steed, the car. He takes the car and drives with it off. Ah! Love it. It's like freaking Grease. Love it. Also, it made me think of the Shadow Organization using the car to attack Moon back in her introduction. That all getting brought up. But damn, that car. I freaking love it. I love the shot of X and Ohhhhh riding together. It's so good. What is that? So Esol on the billboard. We got that. And then when they land, I want to see what we've got. Looks like maybe Ghostblade on that. Okay. On that one sign. Love this. And then the no entry. Nope. And so then we get two others. Okay, so we got this guy on a motorcycle. Are we gonna get to? Okay, so we got, of course, the one with the sleeping mask is connected to Zach. Of course, that's the case. So yeah, the maid, the white-haired maid who looks like a knockoff of Queen, is connected to Mickey because Mickey's hiring a stereotype. Rock, the motorcycle riding person, looks exactly like they're up Rock's alley. And then the little girl assassin sleeping is right up Zach's alley. Again, also, interestingly enough, like, Mickey is just like being all Gendo posed here. Zach is like, I'm not evil. I'm just drawn this way. And Rock looks like he hasn't slept in eons and just wants his deity to arrive already. And then if you notice in all of this, Shang is not participating. Mr. Shang is not participating at all. He's not sent anybody after X at all. None of these people. Shang is just there because he has to be. So I'm curious if Mr. Shang, because he seemed like he told Nice back at the condominium before the Ruins incident, Mr. Shang was like, look, they're developing all this stuff with fear, and he was too. And they're trying to get fear and trust value contained. Once they do that, the hero, it's going to self-cannibalize itself. Heroes won't be a thing anymore. He's like, I'm out. Like, I am very curious, especially with everything that Mr. Shang has done with the Suits organization, with Fear, with the stuff with Smile. I'm curious to know, what is Mr. Shang's end game? What is Shang's end game? I mean, his whole thing was to make Nice into X. That seemed to be the case. But I don't think that Mr. Shang was interested in the same way that Rock was interested. Rock wants to make a god, like Zero. But Mr. Shang only seemed to want to get Nice up to the X position so he'd be the strongest, so that he could use that power to get revenge on Rock. Like, that seemed to be his MO the whole time. And he worked with Mickey because it allowed him to get access to Fear, which he used to try and get Rock exposed. So, like, Mr. Shang just wants revenge. That's all he wants, is revenge for his son's death. And he's just become kind of warped and twisted along the way through that. So I'm going to be curious to see how Mr. Shang disassociates or deals with these others in all of this. Very curious. This felt like Grand Theft Auto, where you start out with 1 star and the cops show up with like the guys, but then by the end you've done enough crimes that you're at 5 stars and the freaking tank comes out trying to get you, and like the helicopters are coming through the air. Like, it just felt like that. What is this? The Big Cat live broadcast of X. Yep. And the Treeman Corporation, Superhero Mall, Vibra Volume. I'm trying to look at all the stuff in the background because Lee Hao Lin's given us so much. The Lin Ling Sports. My dude, you're already becoming a marketing billboard. No, don't do that. Don't do that, my friend. But yeah. And then, I guess that's the girl. She's like a ghost. Okay, interesting. Yeah. We have the girl that looks like a ghost. The maid on a broomstick, which is such a creative little thing. And then the guy on the bike. Okay, cool. And then we go from there. Okay, one thing that never got answered. One thing that never got answered. Who is O? Why is Queen? They have X and O. Who is O? What is O? Is it the Oracle? Is it with the tarot cards? We didn't get her. She has black hair like the girl in the ED. Is X and O? Is O the Oracle that helped create him? We're going to go to the ED for that. O, does that mean Oracle? Because we had the tarot cards. We're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see. But I was like, who'd be this? So yeah, and then he uses the coin and everything. We go to Rose's bar. He's like, I just want another drink. And again, I'm very sad about X's drinking habits. Not a fan of those. And Ahu's kind of like, that's what I want from season 2. I want Ahu to get involved with X. And I want Ahu to be like, hey man, I'm going to make you a better person. And by better, I mean not be an alcoholic. And we're going to become besties. Like, that's what I want out of season 2. I want these two to develop a bond. Even stronger than it is right now. Yep. And he basically talks about how the commission and the hero agencies are all in it together. And they're all intertwined and everything. So it says, you, my road bureau chief Zhao Yu on FOMO. The explosions made my keyboard go flying. I looked out the window and saw a vending machine get blown into a heap of junk metal, and a group of people were fighting in the smoke. A chubby guy wearing a mask was pinned down and getting clobbered. The commission police even sent their planes. My ears are going deaf from the noise. And this is Dragon King meaningless. I was just picking up food from outside and got jump scared. My hot pot spilled over my bike basket. When the vending machine blew up, I thought I was done for. And then, yep. We got a bunch of other things there. Oh, I was counting sheep. When I got to 250 sheep, the explosion blew me out of my bed. Yep. All right. And we got that. And he's like, the heroes are just chess pieces that they force to manipulate together. Yep. And so he's like, they can even make a dog into a hero. And I like the Ahu's like, well, I'm not going to be manipulated so easily. And X is like, yeah, you kind of are. And have already been manipulated. He's like, I'm gonna show you behind the Oz curtain, and you can make your own decisions. He's like, and you lied to the camera. And he's like, well, that's because I had to protect Jinya. He's like, I didn't want to get you involved because Jinya would have been in trouble then. And so X is like, yeah, the commission was originally established to protect everyone as well, but it's been corrupted over time. And he's like, I'm going to... Oh, man. And then all of them are still there attacking him. Yep. I'm trying to uncover the truth. So I am curious with this whole thing. I love this shot here of them all like in the little... Looks like Mario Kart. Yeah. Also, the one guy from FOMO that has the spikes reminds me of like a Trigun baddie. But yeah, I love this idea. He's like, I'm trying to uncover the truth. I want to know... with Zero, with the hero commission, with everything, like what, with the trust value, fear value, my own origins, trying to figure everything out. God, all this is good. Yep. It even appeared almost like the entrance of the alien spaceship when that big rounded part came into play. It was cool. So they go to this part here, and he's like, do you want to know the truth? Then come and take a look. The story of the world's first evil dragon. As the first hero before the establishment of the commission. So we have this idea of Zero, who had everyone's trust. Endless, uncountable trust. Yeah, like just everyone, he became a god and was revered by many. Yep. And he began to reshape the world according to his inner justice. So, we have this idea of Zero. And the concept that what happened with Zero was that he became a god, and then he tried to like basically live the world by his own justice, but it led to him killing a hero who didn't fall in line with what he believed. And the way that it sounds is just like the idea that maybe Zero was the first to encounter the trust value and the alien spaceship and everything. I was under the impression that Zero was an alien, but I don't know if that was the case. Or he was just a human that we need to put on here, like Zero. Was Zero an alien or human? Because at first I was like, oh, alien's a Zero like Big Johnny. But now I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he was just a hero that got... the first one that really got into the trust value and had these ideals And maybe he became like Yang Chong and just kind of became disillusioned and warped by them. And that power got to his head and then couldn't do anything else. And does that mean that X is an alien? Or... And then he killed more and more. He killed many heroes. And in an instant, people's trust in him turned to fear. The Dragon Slayer became the evil dragon. So basically, I love this idea that we have the zero is represented by the eye, right? And we have this concept of he started out with all these good intentions, but then it got warped and twisted over time. And then the hero, you know, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, as said by the Dark Knight. And that's what ends up happening to him. So I don't know. I kind of am convinced now that he was human and just succumbed to having all that power and couldn't handle the idea of being a deity. But then that raises the questions of, is X the same way? Yep. He's like, that is what the commission forbids discussion on, the truth. They don't want to talk about what happened. And basically he's like, they don't want to admit that what they're trying to protect is essentially just going to end up with the same thing happening all over again. He's like, well, isn't this the theory of the great zero who's defeated by the band of heroes, backed by people's trust? And he's like, the commission colluded to change history and all to bury zero in the memories of the people. So yeah, they talk about downfall, which is connected to zero. And we get a little bit of the timeline brought forth in this moment. So, but then we said, but there was always people who want to lift the seal on history. And so he says, this person is a zealous worshiper of zero. And I didn't understand at first if this was supposed to be Rock. I assume that it is, or if it was a woman, or who this was. I'm assuming it's Rock, because Rock is a worshiper of zero, right? And then a child once wished to be able to reshape the world with zero. So it is Rock. Okay. He witnessed Zero's demise. Okay, so it is Rock. Okay, yeah. For a second when I saw the hair flip down, I'm like, is this a woman? Is Zero's mom? Does she get with Zero? And like, no, it's Rock. Yep. He witnessed Zero's demise and the establishment of the hero world. Yep. So, Isol delivered the final blow to Zero using a lightning slash. Oh, wow. And there's Zero with the eye. Okay, so the downfall incident had Isol defeat Zero. Okay. That is intriguing because Isol ends up being under Rock's management. That explains why Rock was so fine with Isol dying and Yan Chong replacing him. That explains everything because Isol was responsible for Zero dying and Rock worshipped Zero, so of course he would have a grudge against him. Wow, that all makes sense now. Okay. Wow, and then yeah, that's Zero right there. Now again, the question is, we saw in the OP the snap with X, we saw a flash of Zero there. So there is a question of, did Zero's powers transfer to X? Is X Zero's son that has inherited those abilities? We don't know. I mean, little Johnny didn't inherit the healing abilities from Shang, but that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean it's not possible. I also love the eyeball and how it's bleeding there. That's crazy. Wow. Yep. Interesting indeed. At last, the great evil Zero is purged from the world and has been defeated by the hands of Heroes United. So then they erect this monument to honor the friends and family who lost their lives in Downfall, which I don't think Rock cares about. And then they let us remember this lesson, which did not end up going well. And they said, unrestrained trust becomes a catalyst for disaster. Which I see now why the commission wants to restrain trust, because they don't want to create another Zero. But at the same time, then get rid of the ranking system. It's just like their own greed their own greed and desire for power is blinding them from the obvious problems that they're like, well, we can't, we need to find a way to restrain trust and, utilize fear and get everything under control. But we're also going to perpetuate a system that gets those things rewarded. And it's like, no, get rid of the system. Then get rid of the system. Get rid of the rankings. Get rid of the tower. Just let them be heroes and let it not be a competition. But you can't do that because they're so greedy. And it's like, and I think X knows that. And he's like, we've got to change this. The inaugural establishment of the commission. So then they have the first tournament in year 2. And then they have the tower established. The commission will also host a tournament every 2 years for the top heroes. And then in year 8, once again, DOS's hero wins the top and is X. Interesting. Yep. Like, can we stop this empire? Yep, so year 8 was the establishment of DOS. And then year 19, so we're going to do that. Year 8 is DOS. Year 19 is all the other agencies, which is kind of crazy. Somewhere in between there, Mighty Glory was somewhere between year 8 and year 19. But then all these other agencies popped up, in year 19. Yep. Uh-huh. We get Mighty Glory and FOMO and all these other ones. Yep. Okay. And I was trying to see if there's anything, you can see like some of the heroes there in the background, but they're very faint. Yeah. And FOMO is rising with unstoppable momentum in year 19. Mm-hmm. So Zach has been around for a good solid 20 years. Zach is way older than he looks. Let's establish that right now. If Zach and FOMO came into play in year 19 and we're now in year 40, then Zach is way older than he looks. Like, there's no, like, even if Zach was like 15 when he started FOMO, that was 20 years ago. He's at least in his 30s. That's crazy. That's crazy, which I believe it. Yep, a new era of heroes. That's wild. He's like, they're worrying that I'll become the next Zero, but they never discovered that Zero never perished. Now, that line there is, because there's Rock in front of FOMO. So it's like, him and FOMO working together. But it's like, you could look at it in different ways. You could say, well, metaphorically, Rock has kept the premise of Zero alive by trying to make these heroes into deities. You could also look at it as, Rock knows that Zero isn't dead and maybe his legacy lives on with someone else. You can look at it in a number of different ways. But yeah, and he snaps his fingers and there's Rock in front of FOMO. Mm-hmm. Yep, and him working with Mr. Zach. Uh-huh. Yeah. To scour and find Young Chong. So yeah, he literally targeted Yang Chong from the beginning. Again, a predator. Yang Chong was a child, a teenager, a predator. He orchestrated all of this. Nope. And created the whole thing with Isol. And then got Dragon Boy together to take out Smile. And to get Nice to commit suicide. And then drug Lin Ling into this. And then drug Moon into this. It's so dirty that we saw this one moment where he sees Moon get killed. In this moment, I'm like, what? So, yeah, we basically had this whole thing where you have Rock joined with FOMO, aka Zach, to target Yang Chong, who led to him becoming Isol, which led to him killing Moon, which got Lin Ling involved with Treeman. And it's this big old damn cycle. But then, okay, they showed us this one, glimpse of what happened. Ghostblade shows up against freaking Isol on the beach. Who's Ghostblade working with? So is Ghostblade a free agent? Or what agency is Ghostblade with now? And again, how are they questioning who the murderer is when Isol was at least stopped long enough to get attacked by Ghostblade, you can't identify him? Like, what? What? How? Why is Lin Ling questioning this? Yeah, just as fear never disappeared, it, alongside trust, had pushed us all, became a power that could trigger a domino effect. Like, sending us into each other's worlds. And yeah, so we see the everything is connected together. Like, the fear and trust tying these heroes together. I love that it creates this, like, infinity where they're all looped together. It's a small world, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, all of that. And then Vortex losing control leads to the plane crashing, which causes Lucky to gain her powers. And then Liu Jin picking her up allows this Yuri couple to happen. Where Queen and her meet. So, good job. And then Queen, we have Calamity and her. Yep. And then that's when he gives her the coin. Now, he says here, I thought that my own path began with that coin. So I don't know, like, X's origins. You could assume that it happened when he gave the coin to Lucky Cyan, and it all went from there. But then he says, no, I think it started, or like, where did he get the coin? But he says the seeds of cause and effect were planted long ago. So maybe he inherited his power around the time that Lucky Cyan started her gig, which in the timeline probably would add up and match with, I mean, Lucky Cyan's powers influencing the coin and influencing him become a hero would make sense in a weird way, but I want to go back to that ED here in a minute. And he's like, now we're here. That might be a bit laborious for a dog to understand. I love the way he looks in that shot. Look how freaking good he looks in that shot. Freaking X. I'm in love with X. He's amazing. But yeah, we are all chess pieces manipulated by fate. A world where people's beliefs create heroes. And the one hero that gains the most belief is acclaimed as X. Again, if you want to not have people become gods, don't have a system that creates them. Easy as that, and I think X knows that, and he's like, I'm here to dismantle the system, so just FYI, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, okay, in this part, yeah, the O, her. Who be her? We're gonna see, yeah, O. Where's her? We'll welcome this year's strongest, most popular heroes. Yeah, who be O? Yep. And then there's Shang and Miss J as they take the stage. So I don't like Lin Ling showing up looking like Nice, which he seems kind of pissed that Nice 2.0 is there. And they're like, Isol, Lucky Cyan, which, where's Lucky Cyan? Where's Isol? Lucky Cyan looks kind of odd in the CGI, just gonna say that. I'm not as crazy about her in the CGI. Loli looks fine. Yep. Loli. And then, I mean, I freaking... Big Johnny looks like Detective Pikachu. The CGI for it. But yeah, I like little Johnny with the mask on. That's kind of cool. I like that. No-No's portrait getting put in the journal and Ghostblade keeping the freaking journal on him. Shut up. Shut up. Just stop right there and then. And then Dragon Boy. What a bitch. Look at him. And then Rock's praying to the deity of Zero. Yeah. And then Isol's there with Rock. We're going to talk about that. So yeah, Isol's over here. Isol is with Rock. Probably pissed that he's not in the top 10. And then Queen showing up. What a badass. Love her. Love her a lot. Yep. Mickey with his Shining-esque whiskey cabinet, sir. Freaking sir. I do love seeing them all in CGI. It's kind of wild. And then, of course, X is in the center. And then he's like, ahoo. And he's like, see ya. Gotta go. And the hero tournament starting in less than a minute. Oh, yeah. So then Zombie Nice. What? What? Why? But why? And how? And what's going on? And what is this nonsense? And let this man rest. Let him be dead. Let this corpse go. Because even Lin Ling is like, Lin Ling is like, what? If I was Lin Ling, I'd be questioning everything in this moment, being like, how? What? Why? Yeah, I like, what is going on? I need to know. We need to know. They're going to give us the, like, ranking here in a second. Yeah, everybody's like, what is happening? Why is Nice here? What is going on? Yeah. Great question. And then Ohhhhh. And he's like, what are you going to do from here on? And he's like, well, I'm going to... I love that he says that it's like, it beeps. And he looks at the watch and times it again for 8 minutes. It's obvious I'm going to defy fate. Oh, look at him! He's like, I ain't going to be part of this, bitch. But here we go. Oh, and then he shows up in the center. Yeah. And his civilian clothes. He's like, hey, clocking out on time. Oh, love it. Love it. Okay. So, are they going to go through, let's see, they go through, yep. So 10, we're going to go back up through here. I might be wrong on my timeline a little bit. Okay, so Isol was number 10. Let's put this up here. Isol was number 10. And then Lowly, it was Lowly was number 9. And then Little Johnny, Big Johnny was number 8. Dragon Boy was number 7. He had been that. And then Ohhhhh was number 6. But put him up here for now. And then Nice had been number 5. And then Ghostblade was number 4. Lucky Cyan was number 3. Queen was number 2. I think Queen is still number 2. We just have Dragon Boy as number 3 now. Okay, so let's go back through this again and see where we're at, because I think all this has changed. Because Isol got knocked out of the top 10, right? We established Lowly was now number 6. And then, get back to this. Yep. Okay, so that was before when all this happened. So if we go back to the beginning and look at who shows up first in here. Yep, of this year's strongest heroes. So Lin Ling is now number 10. So the commoner is now number 10 on there. And then Lucky Cyan. We've got her, and I'm just going in order. Lucky Cyan being shown next. And then Lowly. But Lowly was number... Okay. We'll still put Little Johnny and Big Johnny. And then Ghostblade. Okay. We'll put them up there. But then Dragon Boy kind of defies it too. So... And Queen is on there. And then Nice. Nice 2.0. I feel like Ohhhhh was number 8. And Lucky Cyan. I feel like Ghostblade might still be up there. And Lucky Cyan maybe dropping to number 5. And then I would say maybe Big Johnny, Little Johnny. Big Johnny, Little Johnny is up there. Let's say the commoner's number 9. Let's say that. And then what was going to be Isol is now Zombie Nice. Although, that would be kind of freaky and weird if, like, Nice's existence was basically that the people willed him to still live. They were like, oh no, Nice can't be dead. We can't let that happen. That would be messed up that you couldn't die. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but let's get to this ED and talk about this ED. The one ED was more like going through the top 10 and everything, but this one is giving us some origin stuff. So I want to go through that. So, okay. When we get to that, we go through the top 10 of how it was. And there was people looking at X and like the different heroes. You can see them looking at them all. And then we had like Lucky, like number 3, Cyan being there. And that person having like all this. So suddenly he got all this trust value. Interesting. And then we have Queen and all that becoming dark. And okay, 2B Hero X. Okay, so she has like an X on her tie. Who is this woman? I want to know who she is. Because she shows up with the X on her tie and runs towards him and pushes him to a seat to sit there with him. And then she has these cards. And she puts over the one card that says the Fool. Right? Is that the only card that she flips over? Is that it? She has all these tarot cards. And she flips over the Fool. Penny the Fool! Praise the Fool! I know. But yeah, so who is she? Is she the Oracle? I don't know. I'm so interested. But then, yeah, the Chariot and the Fool. So, okay, let the Fool, we're going to look this up. The Fool, Chariot, tarot card combination. Okay. Let's see here. Look on here what this says. With tarots. The Fool and the Chariot. The Chariot brings warrior energy focused on determination that gets shit done. The Fool represents when you're ready to jump off the cliff into something completely unknown. They're telling that your audacious dreams are practically inevitable. Interesting. Okay. But also says the Fool and the Chariot combination blends a bold leap of faith with an unstoppable drive. I'm so curious. It's one of the most powerful transformative pairings in tarot, signifying a significant change not just possible, but inevitable. Understanding the Chariot, victory through willpower, determination, the ability to control opposing forces. The Chariot represents triumph achieved through focused willpower and self-discipline. It appears when you have inner strength and determination to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. The key words most associated with this card are willpower, determination, victory, and control. The Fool represents new beginnings, unlimited potential, and a leap of faith into the unknown. It represents the beginning of the journey filled with optimism, wonder, and unlimited potential. And you stand at the threshold of a new adventure, unburdened by past experiences and ready to embrace what has come. How these cards interact. The Chariot brings intuitive, emotionally driven energy, water energy, while the Fool contributes intellectual, communicative, and air energy. When you encounter the Chariot and the Fool together, consider what area of your life requires integration of willpower and new beginnings. So does she represent the Chariot and he represents the Fool? Or is he just like seeing this like represented with himself? And this shot of him, when it says you gotta believe, like, and there's like this fear in front of him, like, what does that represent? And is this like him becoming a hero? Like, how does that work? And then it says Wheel of Fortune. So Wheel of Fortune card. Okay. It symbolizes destiny, good luck, life cycles, karma, and uncontrollable turning points. So like, who be she? And then he shakes hands with somebody here, and then she has these two cards together. And then we have this guy with the nuts and bolts. Who be them? Who be them? What is it? And it says the Devil. Okay, so the Devil card. Addiction, attachment, and self-opposed restriction, and your shadow self. So, like, what is with the eyes here and him connecting there? Like, I want to know what her relation to all of this is. Is she O? Is she the O? How does she tie into him? Show why you not given, says picture planet in disharmony. Like, how does this work? And how is this fear, like, drawing, it makes the X as it goes along him? Or is it the drink? Like, what is, I want to know. I want to know more! Yeah, because it shows these two fighting one another, but they clearly, like, or it shows this hero fighting somebody drenched in black. And fighting all these shadow beings. What is that? And what's this being here? And then he snaps his fingers and becomes X. And then he runs, and they're fighting alongside each other. So what is this? What is this? And it shows him fighting. And then X catches him. I like that X is in all white, black and white, and then this character's like in rainbow colors. Also, you know, it's not Pride Month, but yes. So what's their backstory? What's this? And then there's all these cards. So like, were these her abilities? Like, is this part of her? And then there's Lin Ling fighting these. So is this going to happen in season 2? And there's Queen fighting this. So what is going to go down? Is O setting things up? Like, what? Because there's our top 10 fighting all of them. Yeah. What? And there's even Isol fighting them. So, okay, yeah. And then for a second, there's her. But I don't think that's Queen. And X. So, is she O with the cards? Or is that... I don't think that's Queen, though, because we saw Queen earlier. What? That feels like a preview. It felt like a preview. Because, yeah, Queen was shown earlier fighting along... Yeah, because didn't we see Queen earlier fighting? Yeah, so that's... And this person that he sees at the end, I think it's O. And I wonder if she's the girl that had the cards at the beginning that was telling him his fortune. But we don't know that, so... Okay. So if I go back to one of the episodes and we go back to see the ED for that one, we see our top 10 in the chair. I like you have Isol with the sports drink, and you have Loli with the cards and with the pictures and like the birds flying along there. You have the shot of Big Johnny. You have the airplane flying through the sky, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have the 9 of them and him at the center, right? Okay, interesting. You have all the pigeons watching and flying like it's the magic trick. And then all of them falling. Because here's my thing. The one thing we don't see from the snap... Oh, yeah, the eyes are pretty crazy. But, yeah, so we have everybody falling. But, nice. Who are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, the 10 of them. So Isol's left out conveniently because X is in the middle. Okay. Interesting indeed. And then the exit streets, that's fascinating. What I don't know is who has the trust value going to 0 and gripping the feather, like what that is. Who's that supposed to be? And then the throne that's supposed to be holding the top hero. So many questions, so many theories. I'm so fascinated by this possible like O and her, like, is she going to be the villain, like X and O for season 2? And is he going to get the heroes to team up against her? I don't know. I don't even know. I want there to be season 2 now. I'm sure that's what you all have said the last year, being like, we need season 2 now. So next week we are starting Link Click season 3 on this channel, which is another Lee Howlin production. And maybe since they've been working on Link Click 3, as soon as that's all done, they're going to get back to 2B Hero X, and we'll just make this cycle. Can we do that? Can we do that, please? I'm all here for it. That'd be great. But in any case, I will be going through the extras. I will be talking and reacting to those. I am going to try to put together a timeline. I don't think there will be just one video of extras, but we're at least going to get a reaction to some of them next week, like maybe the PVs and the timeline. And we'll talk about that and some comments next week that you all left. And then I'll probably have to do more than one 2B Hero X extras video. And that'll just happen this fall. Probably in September. We'll go from there and see what happens. So anyway, I'm so excited to hear your thoughts down below. Please no spoilers for the extras and all that jazz, because we're going to be getting to that in the next couple weeks. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And I will be back very soon with more of 2B Hero X, and I'll see you then.